Hello and welcome to another beginners tutorial on YouTube channel of tutorialspedia.com. In this video tutorial, I will talk about API led connectivity and I will explain the basic concepts associated with API led connectivity. This MuleSoft tutorial is part of a series of different video tutorials that I'm uploading on YouTube channel of tutorialspedia.com where different features and different aspects of Mule4 ESB are explained. Here is the detail of different topics that we are going to cover in this video tutorial. Since this video tutorial is focused on the beginners, so I'll make sure that I explain the concepts in such a way that the concepts explained are consumable for the beginners and those who are new to the integration area. And I'll not be going into the nitty-gritties and details. So first of all, I will explain what exactly API-led connectivity is and why organizations are moving towards this approach of API-led connectivity and why this API-led connectivity has become kind of a buzzword in the integration industry. Then I'll talk about specific to MuleSoft, what are the three layers of APIs in the API-led connectivity and what is the purpose of each layer and how each layer serves the purpose in the digital transformation of any organization. And last but not least, I'll talk about the benefits that are associated with this API-led connectivity approach, and I'll explain that how any organization can benefit from this architecture and achieve the business goals in a more efficient and more sophisticated manner. Well, if we talk about the basics in the definition of API-led connectivity, we can say that API-led connectivity is just an approach for the digital transformation in any organization where we are creating reusable and purposeful APIs. This is contrary to the traditional integration approach where we have a monolithic, a fat integration layer where things are very tightly coupled and any changes or any modifications to the integration layer have a very major impact and we have to take such decisions in a very tough manner. And contrary to that, in case of API-led connectivity, we don't go with the fat monolithic integration layer. Rather, we create fine-grained and reusable, purposeful APIs. From the purposeful APIs, we means that we do the fine-grained design of our APIs, taking into the consideration the purpose that how a specific API is fulfilling the purpose and how to what level we need the fine-grained approach. And when we do this architecture with a fine-grained and microservice-based architecture, we are in a position to better integrate to heterogeneous and different type of systems and applications in our ecosystem. And if we talk about API-led connectivity, basically it's an evolution of the typical service-oriented architecture with an emphasis on microservices. If you are not clear about what exactly service-oriented architecture is and what are the basic principles of service-oriented architecture, I'll put a link to a video about service-oriented architecture principles in the suggestion box. So you can go through that video as well to understand the concepts of service-oriented architecture. All right, so if we talk about API-led connectivity at a higher level, it has three layers of APIs. We have, if we go from down to up, we have system APIs, we have process APIs, and we have experience APIs. So with this bottom-up approach, I will explain first system APIs, what exactly system APIs are, and then we will talk about process APIs and experience APIs. So system APIs are basically the underlying APIs which are going to connect and integrate with the core backend systems, which can be your legacy systems, or which can be any systems which have the data. So these act as a adapter, kind of an adapter to the backend system. For example, you might have an Oracle database, you might have SAP, you might have Siebel CRM, you might have Salesforce. So in order to integrate with those systems, the best approach which is used in this case of API led connectivity is that you create a layer of APIs which are called system APIs, and these APIs are responsible for performing all the CRUD operations or all type of core operations with the backend systems. So in this way, you are totally segregating this area from the other layers of APIs, and any changes that happen on the backend systems in terms of the architectural changes, in terms of the way integration is being done with the backend systems, is covered and managed by these system APIs. And you make sure and you try to make sure that any changes to this layer are transparent for the other layers of your API led connectivity layers. And second layer that we have is process APIs. Normally, what happens is that in case of any business function that you are performing, for example, take an example of order management, where you have to make various actions on the system APIs. Maybe you have to fetch some data from the CRM system. Maybe you have to fetch some data from an order management system. Maybe you have to fetch certain data from your inventory system. And maybe you have to communicate with some other backend services. So all those type of data once comes to the process APIs layer, you need to take the actions for the data aggregation, for the data transformation, data filtration, and any type of actions that are needed in order to make the data in a way that it is required for the client. So you do all those logic at the process APIs layer. So here you utilize the system APIs, but whatever data you receive from the system APIs is managed, is transformed, aggregated, and filtered at the process APIs layer. So this is a very important layer of your overall API-led connectivity architecture, where you are doing all the basic transformations to make sure that the data that have been received from the backend systems is clubbed together in a meaningful and purposeful way. And then comes the experience APIs layer. This is the layer on which the APIs that you are creating are going to be exposed to the actual application developers and the clients. And you make sure that the way you expose the APIs, that experience layer, are best fitted for the organizational needs and the needs of your clients. And at this layer, you make sure that you expose the APIs in a way as required by the clients. As an example, maybe you have an API which you want to expose for the mobile application, and you have similar type of functionality that you receive from the process API and system API, but you want to expose it in a slightly different manner for the web application. So maybe web application needs a bit of more data in a different format, maybe in XML format, and your mobile application needs it in JSON format with a limited set of data. Or maybe you have Internet of Things, you have different IoT applications, or you have IoT devices which require data in a slightly different manner. So all these type of things you can govern and you can change at the experience APIs. Additionally, if you have to make any policies enforcement, if you have to do the API governance, if you have to enforce non-functional requirements, and you have to consider certain aspects in terms of SLA, in terms of policies, in terms of whitelisting, in terms of security, all these things you can do for your experience APIs. So normally in any organization, in order to apply such policies and enforce the security at experience level APIs, you use API manager and you apply API policies either on the APIs or on the API proxies. I'll put a suggestion link to another video in the suggestion box where you can exactly understand what the power of API manager is in terms of MuleSoft API manager, and you can go through that video, and that video will clarify your concepts for the API management and API manager's powers in MuleSoft. Here is a diagram which I took from official blog of MuleSoft. I have put a link as well to this picture, and this picture very much explains what I have explained in the previous slide. And here you can see that we have plenty of clients. We have IoT, we have mobile, we have web, and we have different type of clients which are going to use our experience APIs. And then we have process APIs for agility and value creation, and underneath we have system APIs for the decentralized access to the core assets. Here you can see we have SaaS applications, we have mainframe, we have FTP and file-based systems, we have databases, web services, and legacy systems. So any interaction with these end systems is done by the system APIs. So it is transparent for the other APIs layers. Process API doesn't care what exactly is at the back end. It just calls the system API. Then it becomes the responsibility of system API to know exactly how it has to integrate, how it has to communicate with a specific backend system, and then it provides the data to the process API. System APIs are the accessibility. If we talk about accessibility and ownership for system APIs, it's for its responsibility of central IT in any organization, and process API it is for the line of business development in IT. And if we talk about the experience API, it's going to be used by the application developers. So we have, in a way, segregated the APIs in different layers, and we have segregated it in a way that the responsibilities are also in a decentralized manner and decoupled from each other. All right, so let's talk about the benefits that we achieve from API-led connectivity. The first benefit that we have is that APIs built using this API-led connectivity approach are reusable, and because they are reusable, so they reduce the overall integration cost. Because any specific use case that you have implemented as a reusable API, you are not going to reinvent the wheel each and every time you need the same functionality. Take an example that maybe you have a login service, a login API, or maybe you have some API for doing the logs, for the saving of the logs into the database, or you have to create an API for auditing purpose. So any type you have, anytime you have to create another integration project, or maybe you are going to have another integration with some other system, you are going to utilize the same set of APIs which are reusable. And since they are fine-grained and microservice architecture-based APIs, so they are just kind of a plug and play. You can hook them in your flow, and you can start using them independently. The second benefit is that layering of APIs increases the control for the overall integration effort. And in that way, you are increasing the agility and you have a faster time to market. How we are going to increase the control? Because any changes that you have to make in a specific layer of APIs is independent of the changes on the other layers, unless you totally change the endpoints. So in normal scenarios, as an example, if you have to make any changes at certain API at a system layer, it is independent of the APIs at your process layer and your experience layer. So you have a better control, and you have a different set of ownerships, and any changes that you are making are going to have minimal or ideally no impact on the other layers. So in this way, you are having a better control. And additionally, since you are using this layering approach, and you can have all your non-functional requirements and policies enforced at the experience layer, so you get a more control and secure way of managing your APIs by additional use of API management tools. Then we have a separation of concern. So with this separation of concern, you increase the overall asset exposure process more dynamic and well coordinated. As I explained, you have different ownership levels in the three layers. You have system IT, your IT department, your IT layer is dealing with the backend API. You have a different team and different ownership for your APIs at the process layer, and you have a different team and different ownership level at your experience APIs. So with this way, you have a more dynamic and well coordinated approach. So you get your the value of your assets in a more better way, and you can expose your assets in terms of APIs in a more sophisticated manner. And the last point that we have in this benefits list is that we have a better segregation of functional and non-functional requirement. I already explained that you have functional requirements which are the core business of your API, and then you have non-functional requirements which are some added functionalities like security, policies enforcement, SLAs, and etc. etc. So those things you can do in a more controlled and better way if you go with this API-led connectivity approach. And if imagine the scenario of a typical point-to-point integration or typical monolithic fat integration layer, in that type of integration approach, it becomes really a messy situation if you have to put all your functional and non-functional requirements clubbed together in the same layer. And it becomes difficult to manage, it becomes difficult to scale, it becomes difficult to make any changes and improvements. And any changes that you are going to make to your integration layer are going to impact a big chunk of your clients, and it's going to affect your business overall. But in this approach with API led connectivity, Since you have fine-grained APIs, so any changes that you make to one API are not going to impact other APIs. So you have a better control, you have a better mean of improving your APIs, making them available in a faster manner with an increased power and with the better time to market, with the less type of with the less cost in terms of human resources as well as the financial resources. So that's it from this video. I did not go with the practical part of implementing any specific use case in MuleSoft because I wanted to make sure that in this video I just put a focus on the basic concepts of API led connectivity. But don't forget to subscribe to the channel because in future I plan to add videos with the practical part of this API led connectivity as well. And I will explain in that video how exactly we can create an API-led connectivity architecture-based flow in our MuleSoft Anypoint Studio, and we can achieve the power of MuleSoft with this approach. So for the further reading, the best option always is the official documentation of MuleSoft. But additional to that, if you want to go through the video tutorial that I created on the on my YouTube channel, you can go through the playlist where we have various videos added, which will be beneficial for you. And additionally, if you have any question, if you have any concern, and if you want any clarity on any of these topics, or if you want any specific topic to be covered in the subsequent videos, just write that in the comment section. I'll make sure that I reply to your queries, I reply to your comments, and I'll make sure that I add new videos continuously to cover different topics of MuleSoft API and MuleSoft Anypad platform. Thank you very much.